What's up, everybody? I am Kay Marie.
I am Lou.
I'm Mary.
And we are
Murked in the Midwest. All right, so recap of last week's episode. Tia Skinner, the 17-year-old who just did not know how to deal with her emotions.
She literally committed familicide.
She did.
She had no problem with just murdering her dad, almost murdering her mom. I mean, she was trying to. That's what her goal was.
But then was shocked when nobody was showing up for her as she was in prison serving her sentence for murder.
Family is supposed to stick beside you no matter what she says.
She has
some issues. She has some problems. Basically, she was just delusional.
Her smile in her pictures pissed me off so bad. Like her mug shot and shit. She had this eat shit smile. And I'm like, bro, this shit ain't even funny. Like, you legit had your fucking life ahead of you. Like, you know how many of us wish we could go back to being that age and redo life a different way? Bitch, you over here trying to murder somebody because you not getting your way because somebody took your cell phone. Like
stop it.
Other people would have been like, nah, I got new ways to do other shit.
I'm counting down my days. I would have took out my calendar and wrote down the days until it was time, and I would have crossed off each day as the days.
I would have got a journal. I would have did so. I would have called my best friend like, man,
you can't. Your phone gone.
Well, yeah, your phone.
The house phone.
The house phone, because at that time, house phones. Or even when you got to school, or even when she got to her little church youth group, like, hey, let me holler at you real quick.
Right.
Let me tell you how my parents had me messed up. Like, they took my cell phone because they saw me over here talking to Jonathan, and they got a problem with it. And I hate that.
Ooh, I can't wait till I go off to college.
I can't wait till I'm grown and out of here. Now, I know a lot of us right now, we regret that, saying that we wish we was grown.
But I'd rather say that any day other than, oh, I can't wait to kill my peoples.
And not only that, you know what I just thought about? How sinister is it that you planned this whole murder? You had your brother downstairs with you. You literally planned to go watch a movie with him downstairs. Like, how do you sit there like that?
I think I saw somewhere where it said the brother was there unexpectedly.
That's still
like he was in from like there was like some type of engagement party or something, and so he was just visiting. And but so it's like, oh, now I got to keep him away from upstairs.
But you don't think that could have been almost like a divine intervention too?
To call it off?
No. That's what I'm saying. Him being in there
for her to get caught is what she's saying. Like divine intervention.
Yeah. Kind of like, what if he wasn't there and she was just there?
She would have had more time to clean up.
Her mom, God forbid, probably would have died. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Because she wasn't going to go get the damn help. She's going to sit in that damn basement and act like she was dumb.
Yes, and then she felt like, oh, because her hands didn't get dirty, that she doesn't deserve prison time because she's a minor. Stupid. Anytime you're conspiring to kill somebody. So,
and not just somebody, your parents.
All right, it's our small business love segment.
Yeah, we like y'all small businesses.
Yes, supporting everybody. And so what we're doing is that we are adding the different businesses that people are reaching out to us that we're aware of, and we're adding them to a wheel, and we are randomly selecting them. We're gonna get to everybody, but this was just the most organized way for us to know that we got everybody fairly.
Yeah.
And so for this week, we are shouting out Cham Chalk, which is she's on YouTube, and basically it is the ASMR. So her description on YouTube is she recently discovered the amazing ASMR world of Jim Chalk, and she just wants you to come along with her as she embarks on this journey. And so she is on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just type in Cham Chalk. That's ChamChamChalk. And she has now launched her own shop where you can go and purchase the different. She makes new forms of the chalk and things like that for you to purchase to do your own crush at home or with your kids, all that good stuff. And so you can go to her website as well. And that website is going to be chamchamchalk.com.
And make sure you go see her videos and stuff because it is really cool.
It really is. Like she does different themes. It's like, like different color themes. She takes requests. She does a lot of like partnering with people to where they're doing mashups. And so as I said, she just launched her store not too long ago. And again, you can go to chamchamchalk.com and just go there, look through, purchase something, support our small businesses. And so that is going to end our small business love segment for today.
We love y'all.
If you are listening, you can always reach us at our email and let us know. We'll add all of our stuff at the end like we always do. But if you have a small business you want us to shout out, please send it out. If you're an entrepreneur, please send it so we can get this out. We want to just make sure we're supporting our community, all of the Midwest.
Yes, and it could be anything like small business related, whether you got a cleaning service, hair salon,
nail tech, lashes, real estate
bartender, and you helping people with their resumes, whatever.
Tax season coming up, all of that.
Yeah.
And just remember to tell her that we sent you over there to show her some love.
Yeah. So if you go follow, just send a comment. If you buy something from the store, just say Merc in the Midwest sent me, just so we can make sure we're all getting the word out. Alrighty. Bye. All right. So imagine. I just want you to imagine this. You're walking home. And you see somebody that you know. They're not like your friend, but you know them because you know their kid. You're like you know the person though. It's not a stranger. It's a person that you know. And they're like, "Hey, do you need a ride home?" And you're like, "Sure, yeah, I could take that ride." And then, boom, fast forward, you've been kidnapped. You're in somebody's basement.
It puts lotion on the skin.
Yeah. You're done. You are now a captive.
Oh no.
That is where this story is going today. Trigger warning. Y'all know we will always give these because we know everybody does not process the same information the same way. So there are instances of rape, abuse. So again, trigger warning. So today we are talking about Ariel Castro. He was born in Puerto Rico. He's the son of Pedro Castro and Lillian Rodriguez. His
relationship for now?
Not that I know of. His parents divorced when he was a child, and he moved to the United States with his mother and 3 full siblings. They settled in Reading, Pennsylvania, and then moved to Cleveland, Ohio, and that's where his father and other family were already living. In total, he had 9 siblings. That's both half and full. He graduated from Cleveland's Lincoln West High School in 1979. So he is a member of a large extended family. And his family actually originally settled in Cleveland just after World War II. They had widespread business ties. Castro was actually a longtime bus driver for Cleveland Metropolitan School District. And he was also a part-time bass player. He was known, I guess, among the Cleveland music scene.
So he had a little bit going on for himself.
He had a little bit going on for himself. Okay. In 1992, he bought a house at 2207 Seymour Avenue. And initially, he lived there with his wife and 4 children.
Now, his wife, these were his 4 kids, or because it said that. Oh no! I'm thinking about his.
His siblings. No. This is his wife and his 4 children. Okay. And so,
damn gang.
He was actually described by people that knew him as smart, funny, but also quiet and private. And that he had a love for classic cars. I just want to say, like, that's a very common thing. Like, whenever they're talking about there's somebody was his neighbors described him as a quiet private guy, or he was a this type of guy. Like, I don't know.
It makes you wonder if they say that because they didn't know much about them.
Yeah.
So then they just say, "Oh, well, he was private.
He
Well,
lived a
maybe he was
reserved life.
antisocial, and that's why you didn't know."
Maybe.
Because most people have some form of interaction with their neighbor,
Mhm.
and they are able to at least communicate with them. They know about them. They know about their kids. They have something that they talk about, even if it's as stupid as, oh, you should try cutting your grass this way, or
And I feel like
we
it was
did-
much more common around these times, like in the early '90s and stuff like that,
yeah.
where it was common for you to
social
know who
media,
your
but
neighbors
more
and stuff
in
like
each
that.
other's face.
Yep. So yeah, but court records and police reports would say the opposite.
Oh boy.
They would say that he was a man who struggled to control his temper.
Okay.
There was an accusation of him attacking um, his former wife, and so I'll get into a little bit more information about that. So
maybe this is why the neighbors thought he was quiet, because he was hiding these things.
Yes. So he actually beat his wife, Grimelda. He beat her so brutally that she grew a brain tumor.
Oh no.
Yes, from all of the head injuries she
Lord
suffered.
have mercy.
One night in 1989, she called the police on Castro. He threatened to kill her and take their kids if she pressed charges. Later, he stomped on her head with his boots in front of their
Oh
children.
my god.
And it was after this she decided to lodge a formal complaint. The case was brought before a grand jury in 1994, but he staked out the entrance to the courthouse and told her he would kill her and their kids if she testified.
First of all, domestic abuse is so tricky.
It really is, because it's so much more than the physical. There's that mental.
Right.
Mhm.
And, being like, she is the wife, I'm sure that he's the provider for the household.
Mhm.
You have 4 children that you have to worry about, so
Mhm.
you're wondering how you're going to take care of them. He's threatening you, and he's capable of it
Because he's done these things.
He's done all these things to you. And then when you finally work up and muster the nerve to actually get him
in a place where you probably felt safe, you are standing outside the courthouse.
Right, I should be good. I'm going
That
in
should
here.
be
The
good.
police are everywhere. My attorney is in there. The judge is in there. And here he is.
But this snake of a man found a way to get to me, to threaten me and my kids.
Yeah.
This, like, before he just threatened her. This time he threatened to kill her and their kids.
I just really wonder why she didn't have like a police escort in. If they knew how violent he was and how he had beaten her so terribly, why would they let her enter in that way?
I don't know. But she never went to stand. And the grand jury declined to indict him, citing insufficient evidence. And so, like many domestic abusers, Castro never served time for beating his common law wife, Grimelda.
And a lot of times, honestly, nothing happens until they actually kill the person.
Yes.
Which is super sad.
Well, in this case, that did not happen. She left him in 1996.
Praise the Lord.
She took custody of their children as well. So,
good.
Yeah. So, just more information. Neighbors would say that Castro was guarded about who would come in his house. Some said he only entered and exited the house through the back door, which isn't completely odd. It
depends.
It depends.
It's like if it's your routine and so some people
maybe you go through the back
garage.
door. Yeah, some people do the garage, but I imagine your back door is connected to your kitchen, and so if you're used to when you get groceries coming through the back door, you might make that just your regular routine to just come in through the back door.
Mm-hmm.
So not just because you see your
wild.
neighbor coming through the back door, don't suspect them of something
Yeah, they
crazy.
might be doing some things back there. You might want to go check it out.
No, don't. Do not.
Run.
Don't listen to me.
Do not.
Remember, I told y'all in the other episode, I'm gonna send you off and then I'm gonna run.
Yes.
So don't listen to me.
Yeah, so do not. So he did have guests in and out of his home, including his family. Police actually visited Castro's home twice. Once in 2000 and once in 2004. It was for unrelated incidents. And so yeah, that's his background, the story of who Ariel Castro is.
All right, so we have Michelle Knight. She was the very first victim. She was abducted August 23rd, 2002. She was 21 when she was abducted. Knight was the first of three victims to be abducted. She was last seen at a cousin's house near West 106th Street and Lorraine Avenue in Cleveland. Her disappearance did not receive much publicity. Knight's grandmother, Deborah Knight, said in an interview that based on the recommendation of the police and social workers, family members had concluded that Michelle likely left on her own because she was angry that her son was removed from her custody. A short police report on her disappearance said Michelle had a mental condition and frequently was confused by her surroundings. Knight's name was removed from the FBI database on missing persons by Cleveland police 15 months after her disappearance. Michelle's mother, Barbara Knight, who now lives in Florida, said she and Michelle were close and she never believed her daughter would disappear without a trace. Barbara Knight put up flyers throughout the West Side neighborhood while living in Cleveland, and she said she continued to search on her own before she moved to Florida. Even after she moved to Florida, she was still looking for her.
I feel like this is a lot like real suspect. First of all, that's a lot going on.
Yeah.
The girl has some issues, clearly some mental issues. She's confused in certain surroundings.
So
right. But like this person disappeared and you just assume that it's because her son was removed from her home.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying that it's a person that allegedly has some form of confusion and like mental issues. Like maybe that set her mental issues all the way off, and maybe she's really lost. Like maybe
you said that you said that she has experience being confused by her surroundings. So why would we write it off?
I don't know. And after 15 months, we're just like, she just left because she was mad.
Her own volition.
Yeah, she was mad. She had to go.
So next up, we have Amanda Berry. She was abducted April 21st, 2003, and she was 17. Berry disappeared while returning to her home on West 111th Street from her job at Burger King at West 110th Street in Lorraine. So this place seems like a very busy, popping intersection because that was the last girl where she was abducted at. She called her sister and told her she had a ride. At first, police considered Amanda a runaway, but then the FBI began to investigate the case as a kidnapping. So in November 2003, police said someone used Amanda's cell phone a week after she disappeared to contact Miller and claim her daughter will be fine and will return in a few days. Berry's disappearance received extensive media coverage because of the tenacious efforts of her mom, LaWanna Miller. Miller frequently went to local media, held vigils, and appeared on TV shows such as America's Most Wanted to keep her daughter's name in the news. Miller was disheartened in 2004 when she was told by a psychic on a TV show that her daughter was dead, and then Miller, she ended up passing away in 2006. This case, especially this scenario, you remember Kanika Jenkins a couple of years ago? This kind of like was kind of sad, like how they did all these vigils and everything, and how that boiled down. That kind of was similar, especially with all the media coverage.
Yeah. And you know what? For the mother, I'm sure that turmoil of constantly pushing and having to be the person that pushes.
Yeah.
Because, it's saying that she was the person keeping her in the forefront of the media and the investigation. Her pushing kept the investigation going, whereas they didn't just write it off like they wrote off the poor other girl.
Yeah. My thing is that, imagine getting that phone call saying, hey, she'll be fine and she'll be home in a few days.
First of all, like, why couldn't they trace that phone call?
I don't know.
Because it was a phone call, and this is 2003 when she went missing. So they had technology to trace phone calls. There's no reason why even if it was a short call, it should have been able to be like sought or something, right?
Yeah. I feel like there should have been, I don't know. This whole case makes me feel like there could have been more done.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, sometimes I feel like the authorities and local media, I feel like they do just enough to be like, oh, hey, by the way, there's a missing person. Be on the lookout.
It's the fact that this was less than a year after Knight had went
Yeah,
missing.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Around the same area.
why don't we think that that's a problem? Like,
Yeah.
why aren't we connecting any dots here?
So next up, we have Gina DeJesus. She was abducted April 2nd, 2004, and she was 14. So Gina was a 7th grader in special education classes at Wilbur Wright Middle School on April 2nd, 2004. When she decided to walk home, her family quickly realized something was wrong when she didn't arrive at her usual time. She was reported missing the same day. The FBI became involved just 2 days later. Gina was last seen at the corner of West 105th Street and Lorraine Avenue. Lorraine Avenue again.
One block away.
But it's like now because she's younger, we're going to jump on it. The
Right.
FBI is involved 2 days later.
So, by childhood friend Arlene Castro, who was the daughter of the suspected kidnapper Ariel Castro. It was later learned that there were several connections between DeJesus and the Castro families. Gina's family often held vigils for her, with the most recent of April 2nd, 2013, the 9th anniversary of her disappearance.
All right. So once again, trigger warning, guys.
Be prepared. There is abuse that is going to be talked about, rape of a minor, all types of heinous crimes. In 2002, Castro offered 20-year-old Michelle Knight a ride. Knight knew one of his daughters, so she accepted the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And after Castro had convinced Knight to come into his house, he proceeded to rape her. Knight knew Knight would be one of Castro's captives for the next 11 years. And in 2003, Castro offered to drive Amanda Berry home. At that point, she was 16, and she had a job at the local Burger King over there on Lorraine Avenue. Like Knight, Berry knew Castro's daughter, and so she got into his car. She was also kidnapped and assaulted and held captive. Castro repeated the same scenario in 2004 with 14-year-old Gina DeJesus.
And she was actually his daughter's best friend.
That's just,
yeah.
That's really just Ariel.
Yep.
You disgusting freaking. Ugh. April 2nd, 2004, after when he abducted his daughter's best friend, she was in the 7th grade. She was like in mentally handicapped classes, correct?
Yeah. Special education classes, yes.
And it's almost like he is praying, he's using his tools of disarming them because these girls know
his kid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets younger and younger.
Mm-hmm. So anywho, in 2004, Angie Castro, Ariel's daughter, and the older sister, Arlene Castro, who was friends with DeJesus and was the last person to see her before she disappeared, got a strange message on her answering machine. The message was apparently a pocket dial, included with the voice of a terrified young woman screaming, "Get away from me." Andrew reported this to the police, but the FBI traced it to a different phone. DeJesus' mother believes there may have been a mistake in the call tracing and that the call actually did come from inside of Castro's home.
Okay, so they traced it to another phone and then what?
What in the inception?
They traced it to another phone and then what? Regardless of which phone it came from, it's still a recording of a terrified young woman screaming, "Get away from me." They just traced it to another phone and was like,
Here's what it is.
Well, that's very valid points you are bringing up here.
Mm.
And this isn't just the local police. This is the FBI, too.
Yeah.
And they know that they're looking for 3 missing.
At this point, 3 women are missing. I mean, at this point they've removed Knight.
Oh, so she's not considered missing. Now we know we have 2 missing,
Mm-hmm.
but we know that one for sure is for real kidnapped.
Yeah.
And missing.
Yeah.
Okay. We not worried.
No, because it was the wrong phone.
Okay, good. Over the next decade, Castro tortured and raped the 3 of them. He chained them in their rooms. He boarded up the windows. He locked the doors so they couldn't escape. Lee became pregnant 5 times during her captivity, and each time he ended her pregnancy against her will by physically abusing her. He was psychologically manipulative towards them, sometimes pretending to leave the house, then sneaking back in to make sure they were still where they had been left.
Mm-hmm.
He warned them that if he caught them trying to get out, he would kill them.
All right. So, upon being kidnapped, Castro took Michelle Knight to the upper floor of his house. He tied her hands and feet together and pulled her up using her hands, feet, and neck. He left her there for 3 days without food. Prosecutors at Castro's sentencing wrote that diaries he kept, or diaries that were kept by his victims, said they spoke of forced sexual conduct, being locked in a dark room, anticipating the next session of abuse, dreams of someday escaping and being reunited with family, being chained to a wall, being held like a prisoner of war, missing the lives they once enjoyed, emotional abuse, Castro threats to kill them, being treated like an animal, continuous abuse, and desiring freedom.
Can you imagine? Like, that sounds
No, not at all.
absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Every day is just a new day of hell.
Yep. And just waiting for the next day of hell. The women were kept in locked bedrooms where they were forced to use plastic toilets that were emptied infrequently.
That's disgusting. That's like, come on now.
They were fed 1 meal a day and allowed to shower twice a week at most. So as Lou mentioned, Knight told the police that Castro had impregnated her at least 5 times. And he would induce miscarriages through beating. So he would hit her with dumbbells. He would punch her, slam her against walls. He would starve her. Her grandmother actually told reporters that she required facial reconstruction surgery due to the beatings that she endured. And she had actually lost hearing in one ear.
What?
And at one point, Knight had a pet dog, which I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, while in captivity. But he killed it by snapping its neck after it bit him trying to protect her. De Jesus told law enforcement that she was raped, but did not believe that she was ever impregnated. Then on Christmas Day, 2006, Castro ordered Knight to assist in the birth of Barry's child, which took place in a small inflatable swimming pool. And he threatened to kill her if the baby did not survive.
Oh.
He threatened to kill Knight if the baby did not survive. And at one point, the baby did stop breathing, but Knight was able to resuscitate her.
Can you imagine, nigga, you didn't kill
5
of my children, and you're telling me that if this baby dies, you're going to kill me?
And so Castro would actually occasionally take Barry's daughter out of the house. He would take her to visit his mother. She called him daddy, and called Castro's mother grandmother.
Now, wait a minute now. Now, wait one cotton picking minute. Castro's mother didn't think it was odd that he had a baby. He wasn't married anymore. Where did the baby come from? Who is the woman that's responsible for birthing this child?
At one point, he did show one of his adult daughters a picture of the child and said that she was his girlfriend's daughter from a previous relationship. And then, like, outside of the family, he would tell, like, if it was a stranger or something, he would say, like, oh, this is my granddaughter.
So he just around town lying all around, just lying to everyone.
Yep. And so there was a statement from CDP.
What happened to him being quiet and
private. Nah, he was
the
out
neighbors
and
be
about.
lying.
So the officers visited Castro's home only once following the kidnaps, and so he did not appear to be home at the time, and so he was later interviewed somewhere else. There were some reports that said neighbors had called the police about suspicious activity, but police claimed that they have no record of any of these calls.
What about the funky smell? You have 3 women, one of which who has had a baby in an inflatable tub. They aren't showering
regularly. You have their cycles coming.
Oh, come on.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And so Castro's son Anthony actually reported that there were certain areas of the house that were locked and inaccessible. He mentioned an occasion 3 weeks before the women's escape that Castro asked him if Barry would ever be found. And Anthony said that he told Castro that Barry was likely dead. And Castro's response was, "Really? You think so?"
Huh.
He was an ass.
He was sadistic. Like literally.
Yes.
He clearly took pleasure in this.
So, Castro recalled, there was so many details about it. And so we do know that they did end up escaping. There was one day where Castro had left the door unlocked.
Okay.
And Barry had stuck her arm out to get the attention of one of the neighbors out of a window or whatever, to get the attention of one of the neighbors. The neighbor then helped Barry and her daughter escape, who was 6 years old at the time.
Okay.
And she called the police, and that's when they got the other girls.
Got it.
So we do know that they did escape. So Castro actually recalled each of the 3 abductions in great detail during his interrogation.
I'm sure he did, freaking pervert.
And he indicated that they were unplanned crimes of opportunity. He did not have an exit plan.
Wait a minute. He's so full of shit. He's so full of shit. Didn't you say at the beginning that with Knight, he had her tied and took her up to a room and left her hanging for 3 days?
No, he's saying when he kidnapped them, it was just moments of opportunity.
It was moments of opportunity, but you planned on kidnapping someone. Because why would you have the ability to imprison someone? Yep. Whose home is your home? Sorry, listeners. Are your homes set up to hold people hostage? Mine isn't.
Mine is not.
Yeah, he's full of shit.
Full of shit. Full of it. He didn't have an exit plan. He did believe that he would eventually be caught. And he referred to himself as cold-blooded and a sex addict. That is the nicest way of putting it. And I guess when you're describing yourself, you would try and clean it up. Police found a suicide note in the house in which he discussed the abductions and wrote that his money and possessions should be given to the kidnapped women if he were ever caught. So he did not commit suicide at home. He just had this suicide note written that if I ever do get caught, I'm leaving everything to the families, and all my money and my possessions are going to be given to these kidnapped women.
They don't want your shit.
They want to be gone. They want to be home. They do not want to.
They don't want your raggedy ass money. You fucking disgusting.
Like, are you serious?
I'm gonna leave money. That'll take care of it.
And so
you got prostitutes, sir, and even prostitutes don't want that, because guess what? You pay them on according to what they desire. It ain't to be fucking locked up.
No, like, he was truly sick in the mind. He was sick as hell. Sick as hell. And so the neighbor who actually helped kick through the bottom of the storm door and let Amanda Berry and her daughter escape, his name was Charles Ramsey.
Okay.
So at that point, she ran to the neighbor's home, called 911. Castro and his brother, O'Neal Castro, who was 50 at the time, Castro was 52. Mm-hmm. They were arrested at a McDonald's on West 33rd Street on Monday, May 6, 2013.
What is with them involving fast food and all of their dang like, why can't we leave McDonald's and Burger King out of this? All they're trying to do is get you a quick meal.
Nope.
Get you a little hamburger, a little fries, some ketchup,
Y'all
and
just
get your
need-
Sprite and go home.
Yeah, better stop eating at McDonald's. Another brother, Pedro Castro, 54, was arrested at the Hyde Avenue home of the brother's mother, Lillian Rodriguez. However, O'Neill and Pedro were not charged in connection with the abductions. They were just arrested at the time because they were with Ariel.
Oh, okay.
So they had nothing to do with it.
I still don't, maybe it's my suspicious mind, but it just doesn't sit right with me that he has this child that he is literally bringing around his mom.
Mhm.
He is saying it's his baby. The
Mhm.
baby is calling him daddy,
Yep.
calling the grandma, and the brothers obviously have to be aware of the child. Now maybe maybe nobody's aware of the girls. They all can't see nothing. They all stupid. They all blind, dumb. They don't know shit, right? But where does fucking baby come from? How do you have a 6-year-old child and no one
Just come out of nowhere?
and no one know who the mama is?
Nobody.
Never seen her. Is his girlfriend's baby? What girlfriend?
Where's the girlfriend?
Who is she?
Why do you have her kid?
Where is she at? Not why do you have her kid and we've never seen her?
Like there were just
There were many signs.
too many questions.
The
There
son
were
goes
certain
in the house
areas
and
that
you
were
can't-
locked off.
Girl, the daughter gets a phone call, get away from me.
Oh, here's the best part. They end up going to interview De Jesus's stepfather.
Okay.
And he tells them, like, you need to go and look at Ariel, because he has a violent history.
Now what made him prompted that?
Because they had already known about him beating this was
But he was
not
beating
I'm
his
sorry, not
wife.
De Jesus's stepfather. It was his daughter.
Oh,
Stepfather. So
okay,
the stepfather of his
Oh,
daughters. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. He told them, like, y'all need to go and check Castro.
Because they didn't got this weird ass phone call. These girls that came up missing.
Mhm.
He popping up with damn 6-year-old babies. They ain't got no mamas.
Yep.
Yeah.
He told them.
And they didn't listen.
And they did not listen.
Real weirdo shit.
I don't know why wouldn't you follow up on that? If you came this way to interview me as the stepfather, why wouldn't you interview the father with an abusive past?
I'm gonna tell you why they ain't follow up, because they ain't follow up on shit. They ain't follow up on Miss Knight being missing. I mean, they said, oh no, she left, she was angry. They got a freaking phone call, weird ass phone call. Oh no, that wasn't a real issue. That was from the wrong phone number. There's a baby that's 6 years old that ain't got no mama, that's just wandering around town. And every time somebody talks to him about it, it's a different explanation. I'm the granddaddy, I'm the pappy, this my friend's kid. I mean, like, the stories go on and on. Like, no one sees a problem. It's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So, since escaping, the 3 survivors have had, they've all came out and said something at some point. I just want to give a little bit more information on some more background in regards to Michelle Knight and just some information she provided. The day she was captured by Ariel Castro, she was actually preparing to go to a custody meeting for her 2-year-old son, Joey, who had recently been taken into foster care. But she was stopped on the street by Ariel Castro. And, she recognized him and he offered her a ride to the hearing.
Okay.
He said he needed to stop by his house first and that he was going to give her a puppy so that she would have something to gift to her son when she got home, when he came home.
What a
And so that's that puppy that later on he ended up killing. That he ended up snapping the neck.
No!
Yeah, he was a piece of shit. Piece of shit.
Fucking
But
asshole.
as we know, instead of giving her this puppy and taking her to the hearing, he imprisoned her inside his home, and that's where she stayed for more than a decade. After her escape, like 6 years after, she starts to talk more information and how difficult this was and how, it It had been 6 years after her escape, and she still hadn't seen her son because during this time, um, he was adopted out to another family,
Oh my God.
and her own relatives, they made little attempts to search for her, as we know, because they called off the search after
Well, they didn't.
15
The
months.
police did,
But
right?
based on recommendations from the police and stuff, they did call it off after 15 months.
Okay.
Her mother says that she didn't believe it. But yeah, so he was adopted out to another family. Um and her, she was asked about him in a interview she did, and she said, "For my son, I pray and hope that I get to see him soon." Some of her sufferings, uh so before she even became captured by Castro, she was raised in a poor family in Cleveland, where she states they didn't even have a couch to sit on. She helped raise her younger siblings. She actually experienced sexual abuse of a male relative, and she ran away from home when she was just 14. And she eventually returned home. She went back to high school. She was bullied. And after dating a classmate, that's when she got pregnant with Joey at the age of 18. She tried to be the best mother she could be, despite she was struggling financially and she was still living at home. She lost custody of him in early 2002 after her mother's boyfriend got drunk and fractured her son's knee.
Mm.
Her baby was taken away from her because of her mama's raggedy ass boyfriend, and then her mother couldn't even bother to fucking look for her.
Yeah.
I'm fucking done, people. I'm like fucking done. People are so trash sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Oh, it gets worse. So he was eventually put in foster care. And so, like I said, on the day of her kidnapping, she was actually on her way to a case management meeting. She got lost. She stopped at a store for directions, and she was relieved when she saw Castro, and that he offered to take her to the hearing. Um, First thing he did when he imprisoned her was that he cruelly taunted her about Joey. He ripped up the only picture that she had of him right in front of her and said, "You will never see him." She's quoted to say that hurt it so bad the knife felt like it was going deeper and deeper into my chest. Um, so we already know they filed the missing person report, uh, but it was presumed that she was a runaway, and because of losing custody of Joey. But in reality, we know she was chained up, um, repeatedly raped by Castro, who he actually told her that he was a sex addict. That was the excuse he was giving as he was raping her. 7 months later, that was when Amanda Berry came. That was when he kidnapped Amanda Berry. Um, and then in 2004, he kidnapped Gina. But it was apparent, I guess, that Castro hated Michelle the most. Um, and they said later that it was probably due to the fact that she often spoke back to him.
Mhm.
But I think it goes into the reason why when he went to kidnap the other girls, they got younger and younger. He wanted someone that he could manipulate.
Manipulate, control.
Control. And so here we have Michelle Knight, who was 21 at the time. She had already seen some shit. She had already experienced things. So she's not going to just get in here and roll over. And there's going to be some fight, especially because she still has this hope that she's going to see her son. She knows she got something outside to fight for. And so I think that's why he went younger and younger.
And probably why he wouldn't let her keep her own baby.
Well,
because if she's already fighting me back already because she wants to go get her child that's not even here, how's she going to act if the baby is here in this house?
Yep. And so that's why he would beat her until she miscarried.
That is a horrible life.
The injuries that he gave her have actually left her unable to have children today.
Can we castrate him? Can we do that? Can we bring up some new laws? Let's do new inflictions of torture on prisoners. Because you know what? There's just
Some countries actually have eye for an eye. I'm not sure how if that's still the same
Mm-hmm.
thing now, but I remember a long time ago I was actually in the Bahamas, and like we were just like talking to the locals, and they were telling us like a lot of their stuff is eye for eye. So how you took someone's life is exactly how they took your life, and I wasn't too sure like how that worked, but I was dealing with locals, so
Mhm.
they were telling me like, "Hey, this is how it really is down
Mhm.
here." I'm like, "All right,"
But
but
how do you do that? How do you eye for an eye that? He literally
honestly,
kept them captive, raped them,
he should have just
beat
been.
and killed.
You know how BTK did everybody? That's what they should have had his ass locked up, torturing his ass every day until he succumbed
and
to his
it's
injuries.
and it still wouldn't have been enough.
It still would have been enough.
And so as we stated, they did escape. She had escaped. She had been in captivity for almost 11 years. And when she escaped, she was actually rushed to the hospital because she was so underweight. And the police actually thought that she was a child and not a 32-year-old
What?
woman.
Mm-mm.
She was very sick. She had found out she had a bacterial infection that was eating away at her stomach, and they actually told her she only had 2 days to live.
Oh my
Um,
god.
Mm.
her eyesight was damaged, and so she had been left permanently damaged in one of her eyes from being kept imprisoned in the dark. Um, and so she also revealed that she often contemplated suicide during her captivity, but it was the thought of Joey that kept her going. And
Mm-mm.
so,
Talk about a mother's love. Like, that's wild.
so then to get out, and because he was adopted and it was a closed adoption, the parents did not want to have her, like, they send her pictures and stuff
Oh my
so that
god.
she could see what he looks like and things like that, but they do not want her a part of his life. So she's pretty much just waiting until he becomes of an age where he comes to look for her.
Oh my god.
That's tragic.
That's beyond tragic.
Yep. And so
What in the
she has so for those who want to know, Ariel Castro did commit suicide
Did he?
while he was locked up. So he had actually pleaded guilty to 937 criminal counts of rape, kidnapping, and aggravated murder. As part of a plea bargain, he was sentenced to life plus 1,000 years in prison without the possibility of parole. And he was found hanged in his prison cell at the Correction Reception Center in Orient, Ohio at 9:20 p.m. on September 3rd, 2013. Prison medical staff tried unsuccessfully to resuscitate Castro. They probably didn't try. I don't
They
blame
probably
them.
they're like
Just have to
no,
pick it
they were
out.
like
He
Oh,
ain't make
yeah.
it. He ain't make it.
Walk it off.
He was transported
Drink some
to.
ginger ale and go lay down.
Like, oh, yes. He was transported to the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center. At 10:52 p.m. that evening, he was pronounced dead.
I really wonder though, like, did he really? I mean, it's kind of giving an Epstein kind of.
There were speculations surfaced that it might not have been suicide, but it was that they were saying it was caused by autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh well, that's
But there was no proof of it. But yeah,
he was a freak. Disgusting bastard.
He said, "I'm so freaky, I'm gonna choke myself."
So we do like to, when we can't find information for survivors, we like to give, like, information as far as like where they are now and things like that. So Michelle Knight has actually written 2 books since escaping.
Okay.
Her first one is titled Finding Me.
Ooh,
And it was
a
actually,
journey.
yeah, both of them were ranked as New York bestsellers too.
I'm gonna check them out.
And the second one is Life After Darkness: My Journey to Happiness. Since being free, she married Miguel Rodriguez in 2016, and she described him as the love of her life. And that was one of her biggest concerns. She thought that because of all her trauma and things like that, she wouldn't be able to find love.
Mm-hmm.
And then she did also change her name to Lily Rose Lee.
And her books are actually on. You can get them on Kindle.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm looking at it right now. So it's like $11.99, and then you can do the sample if you want to just see how if you like the writing or not, and then her other book is on there as well.
Yep. And so in early 2017, Barry went in front of the camera on behalf of others, and she hosted a 30-second daily news segment on Cleveland's Fox 8. And it was dedicated to missing people in the Northeast Ohio area. She still does that segment to this day.
Good for
That's
her.
awesome.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you know what? Honestly, I'm sure that it takes a toll when you are held captive for that long.
mhm.
Then you come out like, can you imagine them reading their like how we are talking about their story? I'm sure they're beyond news coverage. I mean, I kind of remember these stories a
Yeah.
little bit, but like reading about your own self in that way, reading about like how the investigation went. I'm
Mhm.
sure it's upsetting. Like
Yeah.
you've already
It's
lived
constantly
this,
reliving it.
constantly reliving it, but then knowing like, so the only person who cared was my mama.
But the thing what that I like have the utmost respect is that they have been like, we are not victims.
Mhm.
We are survivors. We are survivors, and all three of them have stepped up, and and in some way, shape, or form have done things to help those people who are missing out there where there might not be nobody out there looking for them.
Mhm.
They talk about how they remember watching the news while they were in captivity.
Oh my god. He had the fucking news on.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a sadistic piece of shit.
Yep. And so she was quoted saying, "The hope is that we get missing people out there and get people looking at them a second time, a third time, and looking
Yeah.
at their name." She said it's kind of the small things that makes a big difference. Um, and then her and De Jesus, they actually wrote a book together as well with the help of Mary Jordan and Kevin Sullivan, and it's titled "Hope: A Memoir of Survival in Cleveland." And then in 2018, De Jesus started the nonprofit Cleveland Family Center for Missing Children and Adults, aka Cleveland Family, to help families left waiting after loved ones have been abducted. In 2022, the nonprofit helped 58 families. De Jesus and her family travel around the country to teach law enforcement how to work with families and missing relatives.
Yeah. So some positive things that came out of an absolutely horrible situation. And these women are the driving force in getting it done, which is,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing to come out of something so despicable.
Yep, they took the worst thing that could have possibly happened to somebody and came out on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So I was just looking at something, just kind of. It's not off topic, but it's like because Ariel Castro himself, of course, he had daughters,
Mm-hmm.
multiples. Um, so he had a daughter named Emily Castro, and she actually is serving a 25-year prison sentence for attempted murder after she slashed her daughter's neck with a knife in 2007.
What?
Like I was just sitting here reading this, and I was like, "Wait, I remember we covered that. He had daughters, but I'm like, okay, so how
They
many
talk
more
about
children?
two.
Yeah, they talk about two, and then it's just like he has Jocelyn, Arlene, Emily, Angie, and like this just seemed like uh truly like troubled ass family. Like it's twisted as
Oh my
fuck.
But I
gosh.
just want to say, when you start with seeing your dad stomp your mom's head with a freaking boot, he's terrorizing them daily. Like, do we expect anything different? Like,
Right.
wouldn't you? I think it would be kind of normal for some form of something. Like, they gonna have some kind of problem.
And then I'm glad that they ruled it out because you know how like a lot of the times when it's like a case situations like this or somebody killed somebody, they always try to say somebody had a mental disorder or
Mhm.
this person was very like they weren't at the mental capacity that they needed to be at for their age. I'm looking at this. They said at first they said he had a significant undisclosed mental illness, but after it was a forensic psychiatrist who reviewed him and interrogated him, he testified that he had no mental illness whatsoever.
No, he just tried to pawn off that he had a sex addiction.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a freaking sex addiction. He's a perv. He was a freaking disgusting pervert.
Him and his boy her.
But I'm sorry, Emily. Really, her daughter, the baby that she tried to slice the throat, was 11 months old.
Mm-hmm.
She was upset that her boyfriend at the time had moved out of their home.
Now that's mental illness.
She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and manic depression when she was 13 years old.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But can you blame her?
No.
For being
yes.
For being depressed?
No.
Because she living with Castro was her daddy.
Yeah.
He was stomping her mother's head and beating the fuck out of her mom regularly for them to see.
You can't blame her for being depressed or even for having some mental issues.
But we do blame her for slicing her
for trying to kill your daughter. Yes.
Yeah, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Fucked up.
What was she gonna get from this with the boyfriend leaving?
I don't know. Maybe he was gonna come back.
Oh yeah,
that reminds me of the story with the kids.
Girl.
When she killed her best friend and took the baby and the baby died, and because she wanted her boyfriend to come back from the army.
He came back and told on your ass.
Yeah, snitched real quick.
Yeah.
So this concludes today's episode. So if you have any cases you want to hear about, if you have any constructive criticism, some feedback, a shout out, a case you might want to hear, let us know. Email us at merkinthemidwest@gmail.com. And also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, Audible, and iHeartRadio. Bye. Bye.